said, no, it's not. It's not going to fall off. Because there's a lot of misconceptions, and they don't tell you these things. So unless you have somebody to guide you, you kind of got to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. Like, there's so many things, and so even with with Amber and I, what we do, we work for a company called Financial Educational Services, and we teach you about literacy, because you don't want to be adding anything positive to your account without getting rid of anything negative or derogatory first.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to clean up first and then start adding the positive, because if you add, trade lines, oh, by the way, a trade line is not an authorized user. Everyone always thinks that.
Yeah.
A trade line is anything reporting on your credit report. So every line, any open account is a trade line. So you don't want to add any positive trade lines to your account until you've already gone through and cleaned up the old or derogatory, which include inquiries. I see people all the time that have a shit ton of inquiries. Like, I had a guy yesterday had 43 inquiries on his credit report.
Man, so that's a lesson for everyone.
You laughing?
Oh, that's crazy.
Stop giving your social security number out to people. If people are asking for your social security number, they're pulling your credit. Even if it's like, oh, it's a soft pull. No, like, do not just like merely give your social security number out to people. Really take some time and make sure it makes sense. Car dealerships is another big thing where you go and they're like, do in-house financing. It's cool. We're just going to run your credit. It'll all be one big hit, so it's not going to ding your credit, 5 times. That's a lie. It dings your credit 5 times. In-house financing is always higher interest rates than it is if you get financed through a credit union. So you have to really be aware of these things. We have another question. Thoughts on land contracts when getting into the mortgage game?
Oh, good question. So I'm going to throw in my real estate plug right now. And so here's the thing. There's some great programs out there for first-time home buyers. If you can avoid a land contract, then it's important to do so. Most of the time, land contracts have a high interest rate. Usually their interest rate is like 7, 8, 9, 10. It's all owner finance. They can set whatever the interest rate they want to.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you got to put a lot of money down. Most of the time, 10% of the cost of the house you have to put down with a land contract. Mm-hmm. Right now, there are programs out there that I can hook you up with where you can get a home with a 600 credit score and 0 money down. So if you've got a 600 credit score, that means you can come to the closing table with no money and have a house. Where you're just doing a land contract where you just had to give someone 10 G's plus.
Is this for first-time home buyers?
First-time home buyers, or even if you've had a house before. So I have people I work with all across the country that are in the mortgage industry, but land contracts is if you're beneath that, that 600 mark, and it's something you have to do right now. It does get you into home ownership, but your interest rate's higher. And my thing is, I'm always going to teach you how to save the most amount of money.
Right.
So just do it if there's no other option, but you probably want to do a traditional mortgage. You're going to save a lot more money doing a traditional mortgage than a land contract.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just stop you all real quick, because if we did lose the recording, we didn't lose very much, but it was just the point that you made about just thinking you're paying off old stuff is automatically. So just say that again, just for the recording.
You talking about the 7 year stuff?
When you think you're making your credit better just by paying off old stuff.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, if you think that you can just go and pay off everything and it's going to increase your credit score, that's not how it works. A lot of times you have to, there are other steps that you have to take. And a lot of times your first step should always be to dispute everything. Mm-hmm. Dispute everything, dispute. Then you reevaluate what needs to be paid off in what order, because something that a lot of other people don't realize is once you do pay something off, it brings it current. So if it's a really old account and now it's brought current, that's it's still a negative item on your report, and now it's a current negative item. So the impact is higher in your score than when it was an older item.
And so do you think disputing is better than just contacting them and having a conversation? Because on all the ones that I had, like I said, I had a lower score than I thought it was going to be without even missing any payments, but I just contacted them and said, hey, like, this is the deal, what can we do here? And I think it was like 3 or 4, like one was like an AT&T bill from like 4 years prior that I thought I closed the account and had one last payment on it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, so 4 years of that has probably killed my score and made it come back quicker. But the point is, I was able to contact them and say, hey, this is the deal, are you guys able to remove it the same way that you guys said? Mm-hmm. Do you recommend disputing it or trying to have that conversation
first? I'm always going to say save money, right? So 2 things. One, it matters if you're talking to the direct person that you owe the debt to, or are you talking to a collection company?
Right, and
that
so
makes a difference.
Absolutely.
For that one I had to do both because it was so old that I had to contact AT&T and contact the collection agency, and to be honest with you, I don't know who removed it, but it was removed, and that one helped.
I think it has to be the original debtor that has to remove it, right?
Okay, so obviously I called AT&T first because I didn't even know it had been sent to collections until they had told me that. So
that brings a good point, Amber. So I'll let Amber answer this because we talked about this earlier. So Amber, what about medical bills? So how do medical bills work?
So medical bills are a violation of HIPAA, because if you owe, Detroit Medical Center $1,000 and you don't pay them, and so they sell it to, ABC collection agency, they've now sold your medical information, which is a violation of HIPAA. So there is a specific violation code that can be written up by a legal team, by a lawyer, and sent out to that collection agency or to that to the provider, and disputed and taken off your report because it's a violation of HIPAA.
But I've never seen those on my report anyways.
Medical bills? Really?
Oh.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, woo, that's
have a baby.
Right.
I have a baby.
I was like, wow.
I didn't have one, but I paid for two, so I know how it gets paid for. Yeah. So nonetheless, yeah.
Another episode.
Right. I was like, damn.
But yeah, so if it's not, so as Amber said, if you went to Detroit Medical Center, they sold it to ABC Collections. ABC Collections does not have a right to come after you. If they can't tell your mama, brother, sister, child, uncle what you saw on your medical records, what makes they think they can tell ABC Collections? So it has to say, when you're disputing, know what you're doing. Because if you're just saying, please remove, ABC Collections, it's not going to fall off. But if you say, this is a HIPAA violation of law 127.3.72, then it's going to come off. So no law.
Absolutely. And those are, a lot of people have those, like, sometimes you don't even realize it, or there's insurance mishaps, or people enter the insurance wrong, or you have a lapse in insurance or a change in insurance information. I mean, there's so many things that can happen that you don't even realize. Maybe they don't even realize until you get the bill or the letter from the collection agency. You're like, I don't even know I had a bill. Like, what's going on? I have insurance. What's the deal? Those can be really confusing, and they can really hurt your score, but they can be easily removed as well. So.
And can we mention, like, having good credit is, like, super sexy? Like,
right?
Y'all ask that on a date? Like, what's your credit score?
Should we? Show you?
Yeah,
like, at what date?
Yeah,
that's real, though.
That is real. Well, because a relationship, obviously, if it gets serious enough, financials are going to work in, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. I have a whole nother show topic that I want to know to the point. I don't mind someone asking me my credit score, what's in my account, all this stuff, because the expectation is that's going to carry over into a relationship. Vice versa, though, girls don't like a lot of stuff asked or expected, and I'm just saying that's something we're going to talk about eventually. But
okay,
make sure I'm back for that episode.
Listen, the way your face turned when I started talking shit to Amber, like you're coming back because I know you got something to say. Anyways, but point being, I do agree that financial stuff is so important, and I think what is downplayed a lot. Yeah, guys play a lot of games and do a lot of dumb stuff and don't have their finances together.
Amen.
But hold on. But a lot of females don't have their stuff together with all this credit card debt and stuff like that. And I think people forget coming into a relationship, like you're checking all the guy's stuff, you making sure he got a job, you making sure all this, and you got $15,000 in credit card debt, and I'm sure we can go into this. That's the worst kind of debt. So I'm like...
Well, wait a minute, but let's talk about it, because it's still finance related. So when in a relationship, how do you split the bills? How do you mesh finances? At what point do you mesh finances, and how does that look? I think it's different for every person. But I'm just interested, what we'll start with Jamie, because I haven't heard nothing from y'all. That's on the table. Let's go.
And I was giving Jalen props on her little voice.
I think it really varies on income. So, like, if the man is bringing in more income than the female, I think a good way to split it is, the woman pays the bills, the man pays, like, the rent, just the big hitters, basically, right? The big bills. So that's just me personally. As far as relationships, though, me personally, in my past relationship, I felt like financials kind of played a factor into our relationship once it started getting really serious, the years going by, and I feel like it's very important. Definitely, I think it's something that you need to talk about, something you need to be aware of, and I would agree that when it comes with women, it's not really a subject that they really want to talk about. But I don't think it's a subject that anybody wants to talk about. But I feel like everybody needs to be aware of it. I feel like that's like half the battle there. It's just really just being aware
Having
of
an open conversation about it. Yeah,
open conversation about it, being aware of where your financials are at the current stage, things of that nature. But I think it really just varies on the relationship. If you both are making the same income, I think you should just split everything. But it also depends if you guys have children, you know, things of that nature. So
yeah,
it gets a little tricky. Definitely would say that.
For sure. Jalen, what do you think?
That just put a lot of things in perspective, like you were saying, because I was just straight 50-50. But because I haven't been in a situation to where, you know, I've been with someone that we've had to split the bills or, you know, so I've always been by myself to do that. So it's just always been me paying for whatever. But there was a post on Facebook like, do you think in a relationship should it be 50-50 or not? And so I said 50-50 because I just feel like you should pay a half and I should pay a half.
Right.
So
I feel like it's also a big issue where men, we have a problem with us paying everything, but like really that idea came from men. So it's kind of like, you know, we did this on ourselves, and we always want to be the provider.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it's the man's like
ego and all that.
Unspoken, written or unwritten rule that they're the provider and they kind of take care of things, and that is still, I think, the expectation, which is why probably a lot of women don't want to have that conversation about their finances. It's like, it's not important. You're the provider. You know what I mean? Like a lot of women still think that way.
It's interesting. Very, very. It's two things. One, I had a girlfriend who was engaged to get married, and she found out in premarital counseling that her fiance had $100,000 in credit card debt. She called off the wedding.
For sure.
That's right.
I would have too.
She called off the wedding.
Yeah, I
right?
would've,
Because you should have told me that before we got to premarital counseling.
Right.
And so that was one thing. And then two, you know, as far as the bills are concerned, I have dated people. I was dating a guy at one time, and I was kind of for some promotions. I was all geeked, like, I'm moving on up, like I'm feeling myself. And he was just kind of like, eh. And I was like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
And he was a teacher. And he's like, so I'm supposed to be okay that you make triple the amount that I do? And I'm like, so here's the thing. I'm not going to stop moving. So if you got a problem with this, we can just crash and burn now.
Right.
But I've seen that happen, you know, many times. For me, I don't care what you bring, what I bring, what we bring is what matters, you know? So I could care less. I'm not counting your money. At the end of the day, if we're that serious, if we're living together, we got a family, everything's still coming out of the same account. And so I don't really care about who's pulling more weight and who's pulling other, because that's part of relationships. That doesn't matter to me how much money you bring to the table, as long as you're driven and you have something to bring to the table and you're content, you're not content with just settling in life, to me it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. And I think, like I said before, I think that for each couple, it might be a little different. I know when I was married, he made more money than me, but we still split everything down the middle, like 50-50. I had my own account. He had his own accounts. And I didn't really deal with his accounts. He didn't deal with mine. It's like I had my own money. But because of that, because he did make more money than me, and yet I was still paying for half of everything, he had more expendable income where if he wanted to go and, you know, floss or, like, buy toys or whatever, he could do that. And I was like, damn. I'm stretched thin. I'm stretched thin. Also, when things would come up, if, like, there was an issue with the car or anything happened with the house, then it was like, well, it had to come out of his, because I'm like, yo, I'm stretched so thin, you got me paying half of these bills, and I don't, you know what I'm saying? So, like, then he would get upset. He's like, well, I got to pay for this extra stuff. So, again, where them passive streams of income came in, I'm like, I got to hustle. I got to make more money, because I still want to, because I never wanted anyone to be able to be like, well, I took care of you, I did this. And I'm like, no, I'm contributing my half. But maybe that, because I've also, like, have talked to people who are like, no, a man is supposed to provide. You don't have to do, like you said, like, I take care of the major bills, you just take care of, or even, like, I know people who the man takes care of all the major bills and the woman just takes care of the amenities, essentially. Like, if she wants a cell phone or, like, credit cards, car note, nails done, whatever, like, all that stuff, or, like, the household stuff, toiletries or whatever, and the man just take care of the necessities. So it's different for every person. But again, I think that's why it's important to have that conversation up front when you know you really digging a person and y'all might be heading in that direction. Because you don't want to be in premarital counseling and lose your boo. over.
Right.
But and they didn't break up because of that, right? What always happens is
Whatever the truth.
hold on, because I gotta look LaTreasa in the face on this screen over here. 'Cause she making too many things, and people need to see my face too.
Oh man.
They didn't break. What I'm saying is they didn't break up from the conversation at marital counseling. They broke up from the conversations you have after that. Like you said, where
Why
did this
did
come?
you-
When you
right.
get home, that's when the real conversation starts on where.
Yep.
And there's probably 10 or what's that charge? There's probably like 10 or 15 conversations that come after finding that out in marital counseling. So
That's
point
the
out.
thing. Like, I talk to people all day, every day. I talked to a guy today. Him and his wife been married for 15 years. And I was like, well, he wants to buy a house. I said, well, what's your wife's credit score? I don't deal. People don't know. I say all the time,
Yeah.
you can be sleeping next to someone and have no clue on what's going on with their finances. It
Right.
happens more than you think.
I think it depends on the relationships you've been
absolutely.
in. I think some people are fully aware of how that goes, probably because they've been burned before, one way or the other. I don't know if I get to go into my view on this because do you have your cord going right across the camera?
You do.
My bad. I'm trying. Listen, I've been over here struggling.
Yeah. But now it's facing me. We can't see Jamie. You gotta turn it that way.
Give me a second.
Oh, that way.
Oh.
Keep going.
I'm working on it.
No, I'm helping you.
This
Or
one.
if he do it by himself.
Keep going.
Are we good?
Keep going.
For real?
I want
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just got my screen fixed, man.
And so everybody that heard LaTreasa go at me, this all started because I got the camera right at the start and
Hold on,
gave
guys.
myself a little kudos.
Listen, can we just unstick that thing a little bit so I can move it closer?
Oh, I can't unstick it. You tried to plug it in something
We
stationary.
just go on. Okay, here we go. Back to nothing.
Huh?
Alright.
Anyways,
So, day one at the at the other studio.
you gotta keep turning it that way though.
Can you give me a second while I hook this up though? Okay.
Everyone thought it was easy when I gave myself props. They wasn't
Alright,
feeling
no. So turn it to the left.
me.
Are we good right here?
Yes. That's actually better than it was before.
Good job,
If it stays.
right.
I have a tendency to make things better.
LaTreasa's so mad at me.
I'm not mad. I'm really not. I'm not mad. Not mad at all.
I think we're good.
All right. So
I did have a question though, for Amber. So, being that you were married, did it ever come across of you guys joining accounts?
We talked about it, but it just, I was very, like, independent, like, not so much that it was all me not wanting to join. We talked about it. We, like, revisited every couple of years our finances and how we should manage it. Should we change it? How are things working? We would try something a little different, and then, it just, I think we were both more comfortable just having joint account, or, like, having individual
separate.
accounts, or separate
Mhm.
accounts. Yeah, I don't know, and I don't really know if that was more me, more him. I think it was just both of us were just more comfortable that way.
yeah, is it my turn?
Yes, your turn. Go ahead.
I want to say something really controversial because that's
Say it.
most times what I do, but I
Do
don't
it.
have anything controversial
Oh,
because
well, then.
I've been through this.
Disappointed.
I've been through this way too much already. So
Oh,
when
yeah,
I
put
was
your
married,
stake on it.
yeah, when I was married, my ex worked kinda, but I still did most of the paying for stuff, right? So at that point, accounts are joint. Everything's pretty much coming out of mine. She just chips in what she can chip in, but all the money's coming from one place. When I got divorced, I'm obviously paying for that because, not that I would change it anyway, because the point is that she's with our kids more, but paying for that because that was the arrangement then, and going into it, she doesn't work a ton, so I'm paying more child support. So moving forward, I think how I'd look at it is have a plan, which I'm sure anyone that hands with finances would do, right? So if I was going to have it in a perfect way, I'd say we have one joint account. Each person has their own account. We put into the joint account to make sure bills are paid. We determine how much we're going to save in a relationship together, and then everything outside of that stays separate, is the way I would do it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's going to go like that, depending on who I'm with. But I think that way, just having a plan is going to is going to make sure everyone's happy. So to the point LaTreasa made, knowing, what you're spending your money on, people want to, a lot of people that are doing dirt a lot of times don't want the money they're spending to be known by the other person, but that's so important in it. Because listen, if we got a joint account and you got a card and you just get to go do whatever you want to do while I'm over here trying to stack for us and you're spending, that's a big thing. When you hear gambling addictions, all that stuff.
Or if you're out there buying expensive dinners for two, I'm going to notice that shit.
Right. Right, because I like expensive dinners. So there's that, but the other thing is, knowing the other person's credit score, knowing their spending habits, I think, because if we sit down and we say, hey, we have our house, what we're doing is we want to go on a trip in May. It's January, we're going to spend here. This is where you splurge, this is where you save, this is where we're going to cut a little bit, and these are the bills we have to pay. That's the good thing. But if someone has like the tendency to go, if they go out and shop, they're going to spend a little more than they should, then you need to put a limitation on that. And I think a lot of people take offense that it's like, well, I have a limitation.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was like, whoa. I was like, I felt restricted. I don't even know why. I was just like,
Exactly. And the thing was, we had a plan together to spend in May, but now that I put a restriction on you feel a certain type of way. Why do I have a restriction, but you don't have a restriction? Because I'm not trying to spend like you. And vice versa, dudes do the same thing. So point being, I think the conversation needs to be had, needs to be detailed, and a plan needs to come out of it. Don't just have the conversation and be like, okay, we cool, let's figure out what happens from here. So
right. No, I think that makes sense. And to that, so something that my ex and I would do is that we would say, okay, so make sure the bills are taken care of. We got a trip we're planning for. So we had a joint account that we used for that. So if we had a savings account that was joint that we put in for general expenses, and then we also have one for like trips or like Christmas or whatever, and we would put into that. But it was like, okay, so as long as my bills are paid, as long as I have money in savings, as long as I'm putting towards whatever we're saving for, then whatever's left is what I call my blow money. That means I can buy whatever the hell I want. Don't you dare limit or restrict me in any fucking way.
Right.
But I think what you have there is you have a plan in place, and your limit is however much blow money you have.
Yeah.
You can't go into the
so
joint.
I could blow it all in one day, or I could make it last through the month.
Right.
But if I blow it all in one day, well, then I'm shit out of luck for the rest of the
I
month.
meant when you're spending out of a joint account, is your own. Yeah, go blow yours.
Yeah, for sure. Please, thank you.
But what happens most times when you blow yours, then all of a sudden you want to see how much blow money I got.
Yeah.
Well, no, so that's the thing too. So when
problem.
we would go out, he would pay, like whenever we would go out, he would pay a lot of the time. But I think that was more of like a chivalrous kind of deed. But I would also pay. I'd be like, no, I got it. And I still do that when I go on dates and stuff. I'm like, I got it. Don't worry about it. Because I just don't see the purpose in a man paying for everything all the time. Like, I got you too. Like, this is a two-way street. So.
Right, I agree.
I think we also need to make this clear too. I know we're talking about income and finances and all that. It's not about how much money you have. The key is your expenses.
Right.
Keeping your expenses low. It doesn't matter how much income you have. Your expenses is really where it's at. Just knowing what you're spending your expenses on, keeping track of that, and definitely just trying to control what you can control, because there's certain bills out there that just reoccurring. Like, you got to have your phone on, you got to have the heat, you got to have electricity, things of that nature. But trying to keep your debt and your expenses as low as possible is the key. Definitely, I would say, moving forward.
How can some people get by with their phone being the expendable one? Like, when someone be like, my phone's cut off.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, some people. Nah, bro.
Right.
I think LaTreasa also made an important thing, and I want to make sure I talk about it the right way.
And real quick, we have a couple of questions.
Go with the questions. And then we'll come to mine.
Okay, so Sarah asked, how can a company close a credit card out of the blue when you make payments on time and for the full amount?
Sarah, I hate to tell you this, but something ain't right.
Something ain't right, because Natasha said something too. Natasha and Sarah, something ain't right.
Something ain't right with that statement.
Say the statement again.
How can a company close a credit card out the blue when you make payments on time and for the full amount?
So a couple of reasons why they can close your account. One, if you do not use the account. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you go an extended period of time, like I had a Macy's card, and I just didn't really use it that often. They can go.
Oh, look, I'm over here having an epiphany. Like, I gotta use this card. I ain't used it in a minute. Shit, I'm about to close it.
What happened? What happened? She got real serious.
I did. I was like, damn. I'm looking at shopping right now when I get home going on.
Just go use it and then pay it right off. Okay. But no, if you don't use a card for a long period of time, they will lower your limit, and then they also will close your account. So maybe she has made down. So I apologize, Sarah. Let me take that back. Maybe you have made on-time payments, but if you haven't used that card consistently, they can close your account.
Why would they want to do that though?
Because it's not showing as a profit for them. It's not showing. You got to remember, everything's a business. It's a tax write-off for them for when they're able to get those interest rates on that card. If you're not using it, they're not making money.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the purpose of having?
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you
Go
off.
ahead.
I would think they would want you to keep it open just in case you're gonna use it.
No.
So it hurts them more for you not to be using it. Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
So the other question is, what does everyone feel is currently the best investment, short or long term? Some people say gold, Bitcoin, stock market, real estate, etc.
So I'm kind of getting into Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies right now, so I'm learning a lot about that. It's going to take off, so it's definitely good. Stock market is tough, to be honest with you, at this particular time, so do your research. I have a disclaimer, I'm not a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or a stock market trader, so I cannot give you advice on that. But for me, I love real estate. I mean, at the end of the day, if you know how to do it correctly, as I say all the time, we may have flying cars in 10 years, but we're still going to need a place to live, right? That's not going to change. Now, whether you are flipping houses or you have rental properties, that may change. The market may change, but if you do it the right way, there's more millionaires that come out of real estate than any other industry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I definitely think real estate.
Yeah,
is
I
the way
was
to
gonna
go.
say like the key investment I would think is real estate. As far as the stock market, the economy is kind of it's kind of iffy, and it's not going to be looking too good in the future. It's going to crash, and it's going to be one of the biggest crashes.
They're
that
predicting
we've seen.
worse than the last one.
Yeah, definitely, it's going to be another Great Depression. Pretty much, that's what they're stating. But I would, at this point, I would save your coins and just try to plan for your next big investment. Definitely.
Thing I was gonna say is, in this should be a series really, because you can't talk about everything that you need to talk about in finances in one conversation, and I don't even know how long. Oh, we still got time. But I think one thing that's important is learning how to invest, not what you're investing in, but how to invest. And by that I mean, I'm sitting here stacking, and I'm hypothetical. I'm sitting here stacking a ton of money in my savings.
Where is it?
I'm not keeping no cash.
Yeah, they trying to rob you.
Man,
So that's the first key right there. Is, if you messing with someone that got a bunch of cash around, you need to reevaluate. Anyway, what'd you say?
You may be a stripper for all we know.
Right.
You are the ultimate bachelor, so you
I
may
may be
be.
a stripper.
You may be.
I mean,
Right.
let me go ahead and fix my camera. Hold up.
Or that cardio.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? I got it. Anyways, but by that I mean you have to know how much you're supposed to be saving, what you're supposed to be investing in, what you're supposed to put in your retirement, and all those things. Because I think sometimes people think, and they'll get a new job and be making more money, so all they do is stick it into their saving. Listen, just because we're not a podcast Detroit, you just walking around.
Because I want to turn this off and I want to try to plug my phone in again. Just keep talking.
Y'all see this?
It's noisy.
She get her own studio and she get comfortable.
That's what's supposed to happen.
But no, I think that's important to understand. But in real life too, because I had a conversation before with a financial advisor that said, that kind of broke down the plan like that. But you can't always go by what a financial advisor says. So it's a lot of times it's good for people to hear real life ways different people are investing their money. And for some people, hey, you feel comfortable just putting in a savings account. You also need to know that's okay. It just may not be giving you the best returns versus some other even safe investments that
I always
are
say
okay.
make your money make money. That's my go-to.
Right.
So if your money's not making money, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
So I put on my Facebook the other day, like, okay, what did you invest your tax return in? All right, so if you didn't take a portion of your tax return and make it your money make money, then you're going to be in the same spot maybe tomorrow, the next day.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time. So I always give advice on even just ways to ensure that those small buckets of money that you come in contact with, you can use that to be able to set yourself up for success. So for example, when you when you own a piece of property and it's in the name of a child, right? So I have a son, JP's 11, and JP already owns a piece of property, right? So he already has a rental property. Because he owns the property, I get twice the deductions at taxes time. So just those small things. You got to know the law and know the things that work in your favor in order to set yourself up for success. And so have people in your corner that can teach you these things. Talk to tax consultants. And then also ask yourself, like, what are some easy ways I can take a small portion of my money, even if it's a third. I always say take a third of your profits from whatever you're doing and invest in something so you can come back to it in a year, in 6 months, and you have, significantly more.
Yeah. Well, once again, when I say taking it to real world, though, what do you do for those people who live check to check, right? And so they're saying to the point Jamie made about expenses, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't make a ton of money. I have high expenses. Therefore, I don't have money to invest, or a ton of money to invest. So, I mean, let's talk super realistic. Someone living check to check might only have $30, $40 a month that they can put away.
Absolutely.
Or save or do anything. I think giving advice on that, which that's a long conversation, but even real world stuff like that is important for people to hear, because no one ever you don't go talk to a financial advisor or an investor and they you talk to them about $150 and they'll be like, bro.
So break it down to like
I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize for cutting you off, but yeah, there's easy ways to save. And so even just improving your credit score, it can be ways that you can
That's a
save.
good point. Yeah.
So for example, 60% of your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, and your renter's insurance is based off your credit score. 60%. So if you raise your credit score, you can then go back to your car insurance, Allstate or State Farm, and say, rerun my credit. And on average, if your score is less than 600, you're paying at least 50 or 60% more than what you should be paying for that same car.
On those insurance?
On insurance, just on insurance.
Yeah.
Or refinance your vehicle once your credit score gets higher so that you can get a lower interest rate. Most people are upside down on their car because they went and got a car with 20%, 25% interest rate. Everybody knows your car loses value as soon as you drive it off the lot, right? So there's ways to continue to save, and that's why I say when you get a lump sum, like a tax return, think about, obviously, most of the time when people have less than $40 left after the end of their check, they're probably using that money to get caught up. That's just keeping it all the way real, right? There's probably things that they didn't let slip throughout the year, and now they got to use this money to be able to breathe and take a deep breath. But at the same time, give that money to someone else, even if it's just $100, whatever it is. I have people like that all the time. They'll say, I want to invest my money. I may only have $100. I don't care how much they have. If I will still tell them, I'll take your $100 and I'll give you 15% interest in 6 months. Yeah. They can't go to a bank and do that, right? And so that's just my way personally of saying, let me help anyone regardless of what they can bring to the table.
Right.
Yeah, my big thing is, just making your money work for you instead of you working for your money. Absolutely. And another thing is just really paying yourself first. That's really my big thing. So before you do anything, before you pay your expenses or anything, pay yourself first. Try to put that money, invest, like she was saying, as far as your taxes, take that money, invest it. So I think just things like that will definitely put you in a good position, and working on your credit score definitely put you in a good position to do things like that. Because, if you got your credit score, you don't have to come out of pocket.
Right.
That gives you access to a better life. You can take that money and actually, invest into property and not have to use your own money. And that's really the goal, really. That's what a lot of people do, especially if you have good credit. It's like, well, I have good credit and not use it. So I definitely would say just work on those things. It'd be essential to you moving forward.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I was going to say. Is like, first things, to work on your credit. Second thing, if you do have a little bit of extra money at the end of your check or whatever, using it to invest, like you said, giving it to someone or whatever. Even if it's something, if you like buying stuff, do something, purchase an asset instead of a liability. So if you like, oh, I got to get the new J's on Saturday. Okay, cool. If it's the right Jordans, go and get you 3 or 4 pairs and then turn around and flip them on eBay or whatever. You know what I'm saying? If you want to go Black Friday shopping, cool. Do what you got to do. Set a little bit of money aside. Cop some extra like TVs or whatever. That is a super great deal. Turn around and flip them. Like actually do things that are gonna make money for you. Or if you want to invest your money in something, buy something that's going to help you make money long term. So buy a computer, because you can fucking make so much money on the internet. Literally, there's a website.
Build a podcast studio.
Build a podcast studio. Seriously. But like what? We put our money together and like bought the little phone, the little mics, like all this shit or whatever. It was an investment, but eventually we're going to make money off of it.
You still owe me or no?
No, I don't think so.
I'm just trying to make sure my money's working for me.
Wow.
I'm talking shit.
I definitely would say
she's very current.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I definitely say
I be paying my bills, okay?
Fast pay makes fast friends, that's for sure.
With today's age, I definitely would say that social media has made it easier for people to make money without even investing any money at all.
Absolutely. Even that, like, there are people, I'm not even going to say no, but there are people that I work with on social media who have over 100,000 followers and aren't making any money. I have 2,000 followers on Instagram, and I make money off of posting shit on social media. I know people that have 100,000 followers and make nothing off of their social, and I'm like, you're fucking crazy. You know how much money I could make if I had 100,000 followers? I'm making the money right now, and I ain't got shit. I don't even know how I'm doing it. It's random. But, like, there's always a way. So if you like being online, like me, like when Facebook and all of that came out, and MySpace, man, I was coding and doing all types of shit, and I figured out a way to make money off of it. Now it's my career. Like, dude, you fucking find a way to make money. So like I was saying, there's a lot of people out here who are living check to check. They don't even have a computer. Buy a $300-$400 computer. Use that computer to find ways to make money. Even if you sign up, like, there's a website called Fiverr, Fiverr.com.
Oh, yeah.
You can sell services and make money. Like, if you do graphic design, if you write, like, bios. Like, literally, I write bios. I write resumes. I do all this random shit for, like, $20, $50, $100, whatever. Bam. That's easy money. So if you have a talent, a skill set, something, you can sell those services online and make money. There's a million ways to make money. There's no reason that anybody in 2019 should be living check to check and can't make another dollar.
Well, and with that said, let's do a quick advertisement. If you got 100,000 followers, this podcast studio is available, and we will collab with you anytime. Free rent.
Plug.
I
will say that's something that's very underrated and that like not a lot of people talk about is investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Definitely, just either using the internet by, setting up a plan of what you want to do, reading books, or just picking up a trade. So I think that's something that people should look into. We're talking about finances. It doesn't always have to be stocks, bonds, and it doesn't have to be that. You definitely can just invest into yourself. I know a lot of people that do that. I know I did it myself, just in education, and that's something that not a lot of people, want to look into. They feel like, it's not a good investment nowadays. But just doing that, I mean, especially for people that's, staying at home with their parents, stacking up their money, I think that investing in yourself is definitely something that it's very important. Very important.
Absolutely.
Especially, just bettering your lifestyle and making yourself happy too as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's even what this thing is, because we haven't made any money. Like I said, if you got a podcast, you can bring it.
We about to make some money though.
But anyways, but I mean, we spent money on this when I love buying toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, still investing.
Clearly, I got another mic. What the fuck did you? I got a better chair for what?
Now we wish I had it. Well, my chair fire, but now damn.
Shade.
Right.
I'm telling you, I'm getting a special chair too.
Hey, we invested in the studio together, but chairs was on your own, bro. Anyways, point
Bring
being,
him out next time.
Right.
Note to self.
There will be another chair by next time. But the real talk though. This was an investment, the same way Jamie said. It was something we like to do that isn't paying back yet, but is better than, once again, going to buy some J's or something for my Jeep or something like that. So I think it makes a big deal. What?
I got a song. It was an R. Kelly song I was about to start singing, and then I was like, don't do it. Sorry.
Yeah, see,
I'm sorry.
you blending conversation.
I'm sorry.
Well, we can go into R. Kelly on
No,
another
no,
one.
I just-
We need to go into
The
R.
song
Kelly.
popped in my head.
Y'all don't have to be here for that, but we can go into that. 'Cause that's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
What happened?
She said she knew what I was about to sing. Yeah,
I know too.
I was in the car
I
the
know
other day,
too.
Bump and Grind came on. I was like, ooh, and then I was like, oh, no. Like, change it. No. Next song. How did that even get on my playlist? I deleted all that shit.
Oh man.
Anyways,
Because if you think about it, he's probably talking about a 12-year-old.
he is.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Anyways,
Sorry about that.
Right.
finance.
So speaking about credit cards, I don't use them because the rates and fees seem like a waste of money, even though they're convenient. Do you feel that it's in people's best interest financially to never use credit or store card? No. Like, it's not in your best interest. Like, you need to have at least one revolving line of credit that you use on a regular basis, or you're not, because that's the thing. Like, I used to do before I got married, I did everything in cash. I bought everything with cash, and my husband was like, why don't you finance a car? Why don't you have a credit? I'm like, no, I'm good. I got everything cash. I don't need it. I don't. But then, again, went to go buy a house, or realized that I wanted to buy a house, and I was like, oh, shit, I have no credit. Like, I mean, the only credit I have is from when I was 19, and I messed it up. So then I was like, oh, damn, I had to actually establish these different lines of credit, plus clean up all the old stuff. And now I'm like, I have a really healthy revolving line of credit, or a couple lines of credit or whatever. And like, it's good because it's a healthy mix. Like, they look for a healthy mix of credit lines, of trade lines. So yeah, it's definitely in your best interest to at least have just one.
I mean, what is the purpose of credit? I mean, at the end of the day, the purpose of credit is to show who you're ever trying to get a loan from that you're responsible.
But it's not even just that these days, because maybe you never want a loan. Maybe you never need to finance anything.
Do you want a job?
That's what I was gonna say. I just got a job offer. They literally they literally.
Hold on.
What type of
How
job
you
was
get the
that?
job? And I'm the stripper?
Whatever. They looked at everything in my background, my credit, like everything, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Because some jobs will deny you, especially if you're working with finances. You have to have good credit. So
We're only going to go a couple more
Definitely
minutes,
worth
so.
you don't tell.
Because if you're trying to keep consistent with your timing,
But I said these were supposed to be 90-minute shows.
90.
Oh.
You don't look at the notes,
No,
man.
I don't. Nope, I don't.
Nah, I would say with credit, it basically it takes money to make money. So like I said earlier, it's no point of having good credit and you're not utilizing it.
The whole purpose of credit is showing responsibility.
Yeah,
That you're
definitely.
responsible with your finances. And when it comes to credit cards, 30% of your credit score is made up of revolving credit.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a major credit card, which is very common because once your score gets so low, you can't get approved for one. You don't have one that's 30% of your score that's not being tapped into. That's like taking a test and not answering 30% of the questions. It's not smart.
Mm-hmm.
So add something small. Put your, use it for gas, or put a small bill you pay every single month on there, and then you're just using a small portion because you never want to use more than 30% of your approved amount, and then pay it off every month. Have it on auto pay.
Yep.
You're basically just paying for credit. That's basically essentially what you're doing. It's just paying for credit. There's millionaires out here that they finance a Porsche, but everybody knows they have money for a Porsche, but they're just building their credit,
And then once you get there, you do this amazing thing called business credit, okay, which is a whole nother
Right.
show and a whole nother level, because I own nothing in my personal name. Everything is in my business. Everything, my car, my homes, my
We got to do
vehicle,
a show on
the
that.
whole thing. Because guess
Yeah.
what? If the economy does take a hit and something happens and I lose everything, then I just lose that business. My personal finances won't be touched.
Always
So
protected.
you're always protected. You can always go start another business.
Exactly.
So you can either complain about the game or you can learn the game.
So
And tax implications too as
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely.
So
That's another big
business
thing.
credit is where it's at. That's where the big dollars are at. Okay. Personal credit, you really want to start working towards. If you have a business and you're building it yourself, start thinking about how I can form a business, because one of the big things with the tax laws is with Trump, was it last year he passed a law? Yeah, is the benefits of being an entrepreneur and having a small businesses. And if you're a small business now, you're getting major tax breaks
Mhm.
for having a business. So
But not even just that. Even if you don't want to take it that far to the big expenses, even just doing normal expenses like working on your house, if you structure it right, you can get a lot of that stuff. I don't want to say tax free, but as a reduction on your taxes if you have an LLC or anything, which takes what, an hour and $70 to set up, right?
or $60.
60? Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I think, I was going to say something, and you looked at me weird, and I felt like I had to hurry up. I was like, oh, Dad just looked at me like, I was like, shit.
Even for this, I mean, this should be a write-off. You know what I'm saying? Everything that you purchase here should be a write-off.
Yeah, definitely.
Say what you got to say.
It's
Go
a
ahead,
write-off
Dad.
for me.
And where's your write-off as well?
I'm
You
joking.
contributed.
She can write off what she chipped in.
Ooh.
I think it's time for a commercial break.
Hold on,
got
but
some
We'll
seriously,
be back
Let's
after
go.
these short messages.
no, all serious. We got commercials for that.
We need to.
Anyways,
Moneymaker.
Right.
Do you? But seriously though, in that instance, can she write off what I spent?
If you guys are in it jointly, yes.
Yeah, we're not. So that's what I thought.
So
yeah.
that's the thing. So like for me, I work from home a lot. So
Yeah.
a portion of my home mortgage
Exactly.
is
This.
a write-off. My
Yeah.
cell phone is a write-off.
Yeah.
My vehicle is a write-off.
All that, yeah,
Everything I do is
Yeah.
for, if I go out of town, okay,
yeah.
I'm going to do something for business.
Right,
purpose.
exactly.
That plane ticket is a write-off.
And that's exactly what I meant by
Yeah.
people don't just look at the big stuff. Just
Mhm.
go spend that $60 once. You're gonna have to file it on your taxes, so there's a little bit of work. But if you're not doing a ton of stuff on it, it's pretty easy, and you're saving a lot of money. So
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. It's just like, I know it seems overwhelming. Like, I know we're talking about a lot of stuff, and if you don't, like, know about any of this already, it's going to sound way over your head, way overwhelming. But like what I put in the title of the video on Facebook anyway is just like getting your finances right so you can live your best life. It truly is worth the effort because you can take those trips because then you can write them off, and ultimately after you get into the groove of doing those things you have more of an expendable income so that you can take trips to wherever you want to go. You can enjoy yourself, enjoy your life. I see people all the time talk, oh my god, I just need a vacation, I just want to take a trip, I gotta get the hell out of Michigan, all that stuff. But like you can do that. You can do that.
Yep.
Like, it's really not as hard as everybody thinks it is to hop on a plane and go somewhere.
Do you want to take a break then if we're gonna go longer?
No, we can wrap it up.
Oh, I didn't say we had to.
Unless
I'm just
anybody
saying.
have any last thoughts or you want to... Why is everybody's face looking all...
No, I think
okay.
I think this is great. I know your live can't see me, but I think it's great to have the real conversations and
When
to
do you
have
have
people.
it though?
What's that?
Relationship. That would be the other question. When do you bring up date one?
I think.
So, advertisers, so what's your credit score?
I
No.
think.
I would say like a couple years or maybe a year into actual serious.
No,
relationship.
there's no way. How you gonna
Couple
wait that
years?
long?
Well, it depends on the questions that we're asking.
I'm saying if you're in a serious relationship, which once again we determined, or I determined from my comment when we were, and you guys agreed, when we were in there was, what you're in a relationship or at whatever status, when you guys agree, you have the conversation, you agree there. If we're gonna have a conversation, you're gonna ask me to be serious. Like I get to ask questions right from there. So I'm saying, if I'm feeling you and it's 2 months in, great. If it's not
Right.
until 6 months in for whatever reason, but
That's fair.
I think it's on both sides for guys and girls. I think it's a misconception that we need to have it too soon or we shouldn't have it until 2 years or whatever. Like when I'm ready to have it, I'm ready to have it. If you can't have the conversation, maybe there's a reason why, and that's exactly why we need to have it.
Yeah.
I think it also depends on like what stage you are in your life.
Sure, that's a good point.
Because I know sometimes you might be in a stage of your life you're ready to just move forward,
Yeah.
have
Right.
a family,
100%.
get married. It just really depends.
Yeah.
I know for me
Agreed.
personally, at the stage of my life now, it probably take me some time, but I'm still gonna ask them
To have the convo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna ask some financial questions here and there,
Yeah.
but as far as like seriously,
I think
having-
anybody with kids is like ready to have a conversation. Like,
Oh, yeah,
like
definitely.
LaTreasa, I don't even know you, and we could probably have it right now if you're ready to go. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Bro,
if we're gonna continue to do the show together, I need to know some things.
also, if you're with somebody too, like on a daily basis, you kind of can just,
you can get the vibe
Yeah.
and tell too, especially just kind of where
When
their
that
money
bill comes
goes.
and they start sweating. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too. What they spend their money on, what
Yeah.
they care about, things like that. So you kind of can get an inkling
Yeah.
of that if you pay attention.
So
Yeah.
Sarah said that convo needs to happen when you start spending money on that person. I don't necessarily know if that's true because especially like
Sarah, we love you. It's the same Sarah that we shot down earlier about the credit card.
yeah.
Sarah, we really do love you. So just for the record, we're not going to keep being negative on Sarah.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. No, because we wasn't negative on it, but I think that's something with the credit card thing that was really just about, obviously you must not be using that card or there's something going on, so it's something you want to look into. As far as, I don't know that once you start spending money on a person, because you spend money on a person when you take them out on a date. Like, you spending money on a person pretty much from up front unless y'all are doing everything 50-50 from the very first interaction.
And that's the funny part about what I was talking about, expectations, right? It's funny that no offense that a woman would say that, because a lot of times a woman doesn't get to spending money. If you're more about chivalry, a woman doesn't get to spending money until later on.
Yeah,
So I can see a woman thinking, hey, but at the same time I can see that same woman thinking, not her, but a woman with the same type of mentality thinking that a guy should start spending right away, or like should be paying for the first date, even whatever. So I think that's another thing about the expectations I'd love to talk about. And that's just a theory. I'm not saying that's fact, but I can see it like that, like a woman thinking, well, now I'm spending, like I need to know where you at.
Right.
Whereas he, he can buy whatever he wants for her and she has no problem.
Yeah, I definitely think that it varies on, couple to couple. Like you said, if you're feeling somebody 2 months in, if y'all are getting to the point where that is, I would rather have that conversation 2 months in and have an open, honest discussion, and then we fall and we can do whatever we got to do versus, damn, we're in deep, and now I realize that your finances are fucked, and I really am in love with you, want to build a life with you, but like, man,
I can't afford it.
I don't want to take on that debt. Like, I mean, all of that. So it's like, yeah, the conversation should be had up front. And that's the thing is, like, people don't want to talk about these real things because who I want somebody to comment who has had that conversation up front. Like, people just don't.
Funny
Have
thing
you?
is, I'm 35.
Have you?
35. I have 3
Have you?
kids. I will have that conversation
You
first
haven't.
date. For sure. Had to the first date.
You've had that finance conversation already?
They've asked me questions for sure,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I will,
And you asked
and
back.
I will answer all of them. And I didn't ask back
Oh, you
because
did?
You're not answering my question.
because in my
Because I'm asking you. You're not answering me.
my bad.
Have you had, and it was hot Thursday, my
She
voice
started
is up.
coming. It's hot in here. That's a good thing. We was worried about it being hot enough in here.
So,
Kind of cold.
are you?
Cause you're not talking enough. Is why.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting all hot and heated. Like, listen, motherfucker. You're not answering me.
What's the
Because, no, have you, at this point, you've been divorced a few years.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. The king of, like,
Shout out to her. She's a great girl. Go ahead.
Oh man.
She the mom of my kids. I gotta make sure we stay positive.
Yeah.
She might be listening.
okay.
I don't think so, but
Okay,
Talk
listen.
about it.
So you've been divorced. So you obviously have dated. Have you had that conversation yet where you're like, yo, what's your credit score, which finances looking like?
every single relationship that's anything that I call a relationship, I've had the conversation in.
Okay.
Because like I said, I'm 35. Like I got real stuff. For me, it's like if I'm gonna start spending on you, for example, if I'm sitting out here buying you stuff, right, or change it up even more, you out here buying yourself stuff, right, but you are not taking care of your responsibilities, like that's
Right.
first
Yeah,
and
no.
foremost sign like I'm good.
Yeah.
Because then once again, I like to be able to spend. Like I make good money, so I like to be able to spend on somebody, right? So I'm not going to contribute to an irresponsible situation that's going to eventually end up where you said it. If so, to be honest, a lot of times rather than asking them about that, I'll put information out there to start to get the conversation rolling. Because as soon as you ask me a question, like I'm gonna start asking a question back. So like I said, I'll have that conversation first date if you really want to.
Yeah.
So, because I'm good with mine, and that's
Right.
that's the difference.
I feel like a lot of people don't have the honest conversation up front before getting into a relationship. It's usually something that happens after they're already kind of in there emotionally, and then they have the conversation, and then it's like, well, I mean,
Yeah, it's too late at that point.
yeah, because then you're like, oh, especially women, because women will be like, well, I'll help you fix it.
Yeah. Well, one thing.
I'm looking at you.
Well, one thing.
Damn us.
One thing we should make clear though is every. I think if you're in a situation or a relationship, I think the misconception that we may even be giving off right here is that it needs to be in a good place, right? The shit happens. Like you're not always in a good place.
Oh, yeah.
I think the most important thing, and I think anyone you're with or looking to be with is looking for is like, do you know your situation? One, do you have a plan if it's not where it wants to be? Because to me, like I said, if I'm having that conversation, I'm like, she says she has bad credit. I can't see that in the conversation, but maybe she has a credit card debt, but she has a plan where she's like, yeah, I'm putting like $200 a month towards it, and I'm not spending it on anymore. That makes me feel a lot more comfortable, even though it's not where it's supposed to be.
Right, and the thing about it is too is like I think it might be the number one reason for divorce is finances.
Oh,
It is.
So I mean, like would you tell somebody if you had AIDS? I think legally you have to. So I think that's just as an important conversation. Like this is something that a person would have to make a choice. Do I want to take the risk? Is it worth it? Okay, well my finances are really messed up. Do I want to take the risk? Is it worth it to me? Like, am I willing to sacrifice all of the hard work that I've done, all of the responsible decision making or whatever that I've done to get in with somebody who's obviously been irresponsible with money in one way? And again, it doesn't have to be like, okay, your credit score isn't 640, I can't deal with you. It's not about that. Again, it's about making sure that they have a plan, they seem to be on the right track, all of that, and making sure that it kind of aligns with where you're at. But you might have that standard where it's like, look, if you ain't at a 650, I'm not dealing with you. Okay, if that's what it is. But you need to know that going into the conversation and be ready to walk away if it ain't what you need it to be.
I think you touched on a good point, definitely. I think I would say that money can't buy you happiness, but it does impact every aspect of your life. So I think it's something that's very important, and if you don't care about it, I think that's going to be a red flag. If you don't have a plan or anything in place for it and not aware of your finances, it's going to be all red flags. So I feel like with money, it's going to bring a better lifestyle for you, and it's just something you just really can't steer away from.
I mean, I'll use myself as an example. I got really sick. You know what I'm saying? I had to take some time off of work. My score dropped down to a 515. So if I would have met someone at the time, it didn't matter. You know, I don't have to be like, so yeah, I'm a 515. Right?
Yeah.
And so life happens, as he said. Things happen. If you have kids, you know life happens. Like things just come up. But as he said, have a plan and know that this is not this is a season in your life, or is this who you are?
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. That's
what
what I'm looking for when I have that
exactly.
conversation.
So if this is a season, like things happen, shit happens. We've all made bad financial decisions.
Yeah,
Everybody in this room has.
Definitely.
But was that a season, or are you continuously making those bad decisions? You know, if that's no longer a season, that's just who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, there's a difference.
And another thing, I hate when people say money doesn't buy you happiness. I hate that. Because I think I agree with the core statement that money doesn't buy you happiness, but I guarantee you when you don't have it, you are unhappy for sure. So
well, that's what when he said that, I was thinking, well, money might not buy you happiness, but the lack of money sure as hell puts you in distress.
Yeah, so I think you should look at
more money, more problems.
Right, but I almost the reason I always try and correct, I don't want to say correct, but challenge that statement is because I look at it like that. That it's that important that for my life to go the way I want it to go, I need to clean stuff up. I need to constantly be cleaning stuff up, looking for better ways. I mean, she's brought up some things that I'm like, dang, I need to go check my own stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important. You should always be thinking like that, having these conversations, listening to this podcast.
Always listen to this podcast. That is the
because we'll get you there.
First rule in living your best life.
But no, I think it's important to get to a happy place because.
No, and I'm like, no. Actually, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I mean, money can't buy happiness, but really, It kind of does.
Yeah.
Like,
buys everything I'm happy with.
that's what I was thinking that I'm like, well, it takes money to travel. I love traveling. Like, I really like money actually does contribute to your happiness. Of course, your happiness inside should come first, and like building relationships, that's where all you get the mushy gushy stuff. But like, you would rather be with your significant other on a beach somewhere or whatever than like sitting in a box on the side of the road.
We just talked about you can't have a relationship with someone that's bad with their money. So that just started your relationship. You're inside too. So we maybe corrected ourselves.
Oh wait, what? Okay, so you can't even love yourself if you ain't got good credit. Is that where we went?
That's where I'm gonna go.
Shit, y'all. This is deep. I felt that. That was deep.
Hey, you gotta take a personal responsibility for your credit.
Right.
Hey.
Your happiness. You gotta do this for your family.
I'll be honest, I talk to a lot of different people. Even billionaires have bad credit.
Yeah.
It's just not people that are living, at minimum wage. Trust me, majority of people are faced with the same issue. Part of the problem is that we all think that we've got to put this image out that life is perfect. And whether it be finances, social media just took it to a whole new level where everyone thinks that, oh, my life is just happy, happy, joy, joy. That's not reality.
Right.
Reality is life happens. Reality is that you don't have to act like you're perfect. And, a lot of times when I even ask people as we're doing consultations, hey, what's your score? You hear them like, oh my gosh, should I say it? Like they pause because they get, and I always tell my story first to say, I've been there, like I'm not perfect and it happens. And so the biggest thing is just taking that step forward. But in relationship, it's just about honesty and respect at the end of the day. If you can't be honest about the conversation, I had a boyfriend and I was like, let's look at your credit report. He's like, all right.
How deep was this in?
How deep was this in? We probably were in about 3 or 4 months.
Damn.
You think that's too soon or too
But
late?
no, I'm just thinking, like, I can't even get, in 3 or 4 months, I don't even know if I like a person.
But no, this
She was trying to decide that.
I'm like, shit.
That can determine that.
But this is what I do. So, we were talking
even
about,
text
and
them
obviously
back.
I was giving some advice, and I was like, I can help you. So that's my opening line. Like, I can help you. That's what I do. Right? Pop over my computer.
Right.
What's your social?
I might
Trying to
you
get
gotta
in a
throw it out
vulnerable
creatively.
position.
You gotta be creative.
Dude, like, let me help you.
I'll be like, dang, this bill went past due, and man, it's affecting my credit. I think my credit dropped like 30 points on this. That's crazy. So I went from this to this. How's yours? How's yours? You good?
But I did. And he, you can tell he was a little nervous, and then he was like, well, let me see yours. So I respect that, everyone's not, I get I'm a little crazy, not everybody's just going to throw stuff out there like that.
Oh, I feel like I want to have a date where I'm just like, hey, let's get together and drink some wine and exchange credit reports.
Or we can put everything, like all the questions in the bowl, like, okay.
I think y'all should just have sex.
Have a bunch of
sex first.
I know, I was like,
I'll show you whatever you want to do.
Oh man.
This is strictly business. We can handle this. I'll be more willing. Get to that.
wait, what?
You weren't listening.
I just heard sex.
Jamie was listening.
Because he heard sex.
Yeah, no, because sex, you get somebody in the
so you
vulnerable
gonna ask somebody
stage.
the credit score while you having sex? Like,
No, not while.
Tell me
After.
it's 780.
Hey, if you into that.
That's a little much.
No, I was joking, obviously, but I meant obviously with the theory of having tough conversations after.
Oh, okay. Oh, that pillow talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
I don't know how I feel about that. I would rather just have a date.
I was joking. Now everybody gonna be afraid to have sex with me.
Definitely.
About that.
Like, I heard he asked about your credit afterwards, girl. Don't mess with him.
He is too nosy.
right. But no, it's just about honesty at the end of the day. And
Well, how you gonna do that 2 hours in at the club at the bathroom anyway? Ain't that how you get it in?
Oh man. She going back.
So I talk real life. We gonna have, you know what?
I wasn't here for that.
No, you wasn't.
Come on back.
Yeah.
Come on back,
What happened
because it didn't happen. What
Oh,
they
so
were
you
trying
was
to act like
fronting.
they were trying to they were trying to act like
Stunt for the ground.
who's stunning?
You done got her started. Man.
No, we're talking about one night stands. They try to act like one night stands don't happen,
That's
and
not
then,
what
then I took it one step further. I was like, people hook up like at the club they meet at, and they try to act like that never happens. I didn't say
No,
me.
you?
No, I said no. I mean, at the strip club, you know, I mean, shit happens.
Where's the bell?
We didn't talk
I'm
about that
investing
one.
in the bell, and that's one of my tax write-offs.
Where's the bell?
That is a good transition because you're spending money, right, in
Oh.
finances
Yeah.
on the big booties at the
Yeah.
strip club,
Yeah.
The booty club.
the booty club, and you are
Relaxing.
working on relationships and
Yeah.
asking their credit score after you're finished.
Dang, you're right. No, but we gotta come back for that conversation. It wasn't me having sex in a bathroom
With a
after
stripper.
meeting them for 2 hours.
Not yet.
So.
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, shit.
You're like, there's still time. I'm still young.
If you got good credit,
What's that credit score? All right, let's go.
right, right. So, anyways,
Okay, so I think that we've had enough. I've had enough. How you feeling? All right, yeah. So we'll go around the table, starting with Jamie, to give everybody an opportunity to say their goodbyes. Any last words? You want people to be able to reach out to you, to let you know what that credit score do. You know, whatever.
Jamie B. You can look it up on Twitter, Instagram. I'll pop right up.
Jay was so quiet this show. She's
So-
over here laughing, just enjoying.
Well, because I'm soaking all this in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Observant.
Thanks. It's Jalen at Jalen Suddeth on all social media.
Oh, then that goes to me, huh?
Yep.
I am LaTreasa on Twitter and on Instagram, and then also on Facebook.
The best Amber across all social media platforms, except for Instagram. I'm the best Amber.
You still ain't got that, huh?
No,
2 E's.
I'm working on it. 2 E's. The best Amber.
Me?
That's you.
Alex, my blog and now podcast, The Ultimate Bachelor, for shock value, and at ULTBACH. So.
Yeah. So thank y'all for tuning in. Have a great evening.